M stands for meditate, E stands for exercise,
Wow.
N stands for notate, which is like journaling, T stands for thank, which is be thankful, O stands for ownership, and R stands for lead.
So let's give an insight about the book, how it has been divided into sections,
Sure.
and how that activity particularly you have quoted
Yeah.
is going to help the people.
Yeah, no.
How did you get inspired to write a book like this?
It's a great question. Everybody's asking me that. Did I ever want to write a book? And I was just waiting to get that out. But the reality is, writing a book was never in my bucket list. Last 4 years have been very, very transformative for me. I've grown as a person. I've grown as a human who has realized, why am I on this planet? And once I had that realization, I felt the best way to get the message out, to give back to the community, to give back to the corporate culture and women and everybody alike is via the book, and that's why the book.
Give us your introduction more in detail, but starting from your childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's personal and special. And in fact, the book also starts about my journey as a child. So I'm the oldest child, and I was born and raised in New Delhi. If you are an Indian, which you are, being the oldest child comes with a lot of pressure and burden because you're supposed to be the model child. You have to get all grades, A's and A pluses. You have to be awesome at dance, great at debate. You have to look good, you have to feel good, you have to make everyone else always feel good. And because you're the oldest, you also have to set an example for the younger siblings, which means you can never ever fail at anything. So there are lots of pluses about it, but it also comes with a downside, which is that you yourself put in a lot of pressure to be super 24/7.
So basically, you are a very bright child, bright student in your life.
True.
Your parents had set great expectations. If we were to talk about how the eldest child in the Indian culture is treated, more so the parents aspire them to be role models, looks like. So looks like you had those challenges, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I won't call it challenges. I think it's like that was the environment at the home. So, and I was a good kid, and I always wanted to please my parents. So that ended up actually kind of leading to me getting into a people pleaser mentality, starting with parents, to everybody else around me. And if I fast forward that, it leads to more pressure to be super 24/7 as a wife, as a mom, as an executive, as a leader, as a person in the community, and nobody can be super 24/7 ever. That's where burnout happens. That's where frustration happens. That's where external validation comes in, and that's when people start losing themselves and actually what is it that they want. So it's been definitely transformative in terms of realizing.
So
Yeah.
humans are not coded, the computerized codes basically, and they are neither the robots. So definitely Shikha is aspiring to do a lot of good work through this book. So let's give an insight about the book, how it has been divided into sections,
Sure.
and how that activity particularly you have quoted
Yeah.
is going to help the people.
Yeah, no, great question, Jyotsna. So, as I said, I've been on this journey for 18 months. The book is divided into 3 different parts. Know your color, embrace your color, and then spread your color. And color, to your point, means your whole self, your flaws, your strengths, your passions, your ambitions, anything that gives you joy. Know your color has 3 different chapters. It talks about understand what your limiting beliefs are. I can do this, cannot do this, etc., etc. And then figure out what your values are. One of my values, as I was sharing my childhood story, has been excellence. And it's great sometimes, but sometimes that actually hinders me. It blocks me from, choosing perfection over progress. And I keep reminding myself that progress is good, nothing is perfect. So embrace your color is about, okay, now that I know who I am and what I really want. What I realized is a lot of women don't know what they want. So unless you take time to do the reflection, and that's why all those exercises that I'm calling canvas, box, palette. So it's not just get the inspiration from the story, but do an exercise at the end of every chapter to figure out where you are in your life. So I'm trying to take everybody on that transformative journey with me. And I'm hoping that's really going to be helpful if you give it the time. And
Well, I must commend you for that. The book never gets boring because there is a homework for you to do right after the chapter finishes, or you're at the end of one chapter. Whatever way you call it, it's like a self exercise. What I felt was that,
yeah.
and more towards it has a story. So that's stories, excerpts, certain excerpts. If you want to share with our audience, please
Sure.
give an insight.
Sure, I will. Actually, before that, I think I didn't answer the question around the 3 pillars. So know your
Yes.
color, know yourself, everything good, bad, ugly. Embrace your color, which means dream big. Once you know who you are and what is it that you want, then how do you design a life to actually get to all those goals? Is what embrace your color is. And once that happens, when you have the courage to dream big, how do you actually then spread your color, which is make the world better and make it more beautiful? And there are stories around it, but I wanted to just call that out. That it's critical to really know what you want, and unless you take that time and do that work, the activation work around those exercises, you'll not be able to do it.
Very nice. So let's go a little bit inside the book.
Sure.
Some interesting parts, and of course, as I said, how the stories have been stitched together here,
Yeah.
making it a beautiful book, and the curiosity stays till the end. Give some examples there for the book.
Sure. So I'll pick one. There are stereotypes in our society, especially, so I'm an Indian, and the stereotype is that management is a man's job. And you always have to either take advice or they're the person who's going to lead that, right? So it's a personal story. When we decided to move from India to US, I had actually been investing in stocks without telling my husband.
Wow, that's unique about you. I know barely any women do it.
I know.
Like very few number.
Yeah, so I was investing in stocks, researching, learning, and I'm a lifelong learner, so I like to learn new things. So I was learning, I was investing, and I was doing it for I would say maybe 3 to 5 years before we moved here. And when we needed to move, so since I'm a first generation immigrant, I actually did not have a godfather waiting to open up the locker with dollars, right? So I had to figure it out on my own. And switching countries at the same time, it just wasn't easy. But that's where that financial astuteness and being independent and not following stereotypes helped. Because whatever I had invested ended up growing actually 4 times.
Wow.
And obviously, you know how the currency rate works, right? So
Smart woman out here. No doubt, there's a lot to get motivated from you then.
yeah, and I think, and the reason I'm sharing that story is that society will always have certain expectations. And you need to be bold, you need to own your own self in terms of what makes sense to move forward. And it was a beautiful surprise, right? When I shared it with my husband, and he's like, how are we going to figure this? We have to get a car, we have to get a house, we have to do so many things. And I said, you know what? Actually, I have a surprise gift, and it was near our anniversary, so it was special. And I said, here you go. And I think he was zapped, he was very proud, he was very thankful that I had that mindset to save for the future, invest for the future for us.
Throw some light on that part of being an immigrant and with your dialect that you carry, and how you may get underestimated somewhere despite being top intelligence that you carry with you or the experience. Let's explore a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked me that. I'll share something. So I got 3 people, men, who read the book and actually sent me an email saying exactly about being immigrant and having a different accent, not looking like everyone else when you're working in corporate America, saying one of the man actually cried and the other man felt, this is not a book for women. This is exactly my story. I have been in this spot where I have lost confidence, and the gentleman is from southern part of India, I have lost confidence because my English wasn't great or my accent wasn't right, and I was being asked again and again and again, like, can you say that again? What are you saying? Sorry, I don't understand. So it's common, it happens to everybody, nothing wrong about it, but it has a huge impact on how you feel about yourself, not gelling in. And then what happens is, then you start doing things or trying to do things to be like them. But the thing is, that's where you start losing yourself. It has happened to me, it has happened to hundreds of women that I have interviewed. Because if you don't look like them, if they can't understand you, you're like, okay, I need to actually act like them. Example, growing up, and you'll relate to this, Looks, I'm sure.
Yep.
In India, women are supposed to be the nurturers.
Absolutely.
The care providers, right? They're the nicer ones, and they're just there to take care of everything. And being soft-spoken, being humble, being nice is expected and applauded, right? But when you move to US, I don't think that works. It didn't work for me. It hasn't worked for a lot of people. Like, seriously, it just doesn't work, because then you're seen as the meek one. That means if you're soft and if you're nice and if you're trying to work together, then maybe you actually don't have an opinion. Maybe you're not loud. Leadership doesn't need to be loud. For you to get to the top, you don't need to be the loud or the rude one. So trying to change from what you've learned to as how you should be, versus seeing it not work and then trying to fit in and then realizing, no, that's not right either. It's a lot of transformation. But once you get that, then it's like, this is who I am. I'm authentic. There are things I, as my skills, soft skills, tech skills, bring to the table. And you need me, right? And that's true for everybody, women and men. We're all different. Like you talked about the rainbow, right? Like, look at this, how colorful it is.
Absolutely.
If it were all black and white, like even God has made everything colorful. From like a blue sky to green trees to beautiful flowers. Like, life is not supposed to be black and white.
Absolutely.
So live in full color. Walk out in full color.
Colors add value to your life.
Absolutely.
First and foremost is difference between know your color and embrace your color.
Yeah.
Let's speak about that first.
Yeah, sure. You know what? It might be worthwhile if you take the book, the way it's structured, and I'll point you to
So that was the part one, know your color.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then, because once you know yourself, then it is about, do you want to accept yourself as it or not?
True.
So
That's embrace your color, right? So it's like the way it's structured, paint big, which means dream big. To your point, you said if you can dream it, you can do it. To me, this book is my journey of dreams to reality. And I share stories about, I had this childhood dream to do an executive MBA in US. But since I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'm so many other things, when the time came to actually do it, I thought, you know what? I'm going to save that money. I told you I'm financially astute.
Right.
So I'm going to save that money for my son's college, because college is expensive. And I was like, okay, and that's fine. However, I was able to actually do an executive MBA by being chosen as one of the 30 participants in a 20,000 large company. And that made me feel like if I can do that, which required like really, really hard weekends, lots of project work, professors from NYU, MIT, all that, I was like, if I can do that, I can actually do anything. And that's where chapter 5, 6 talks about my journey, about getting connected to a value. I talked about excellence, career, trying to make it big, being a first generation immigrant and not having a godfather. I had lost that value. But during COVID, what happened was a friend of mine, so everybody knows how COVID was, right? Millions of women were losing their jobs. It was really leading to diversity taking a really bad hit. Nobody had any help. There are women with like little babies, you have to clean the house, and you know how US is, you have to do everything. Cooking, cleaning, childcare. And who do you think took the brunt? Woman or the man?
absolutely women.
So there you go. So I had a friend of mine in my company calling and saying, I'm at a point where I think I need to quit my job. I just can't do it. Like, I'm going crazy, I'm burnt out, I can't sleep, I have to go to the doctor are not available, everything is happening like teledoc.
Right.
What do I do? And I said, don't leave your job because you will always be guilty and you have regrets. So I spent hours talking to her, giving her ideas about where to set boundaries, how to seek support at home to make sure that she's able to do it. And voila, it worked. She did not leave her job, and she's extremely thankful, not to me, but I think just how things happened. If she had, they would have gone bankrupt. It just would have been not good. Who knows, she may have ended up in a mental health institute,
Indeed, so again, to the audience, when we speak about this book, as I said, it's a guide for you, it's a self-guide. A lot of chapters speak about a lot of different aspects of you, and then exploring yourself and going to the next level is what I was able to make out from the book, Explain every letter, the abbreviation that you can expand first, and then we'll talk about your mentorship program also. Because there is a lot more to explore from that angle.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you asked. So essentially, I think for you to spread your color, you have to claim your inner power. And that inner power, M.E.N.T.O.R, M.E.N.T.O R, is a self-mentoring tool as to once you know your compass, what is it that you want to do? M stands for meditate. E stands for exercise.
Wow.
N stands for notate, which is like journaling. T stands for thank, which is be thankful. O stands for ownership. And R stands for lead. And the reason for the self-mentoring tool is like, yes, you need to ask for help. Seek the right mentors in all walks of your life. People want to help you, but you have to say, I need help. Second, be a mentor. Others also need help. If I felt so amazing, so fulfilling after I helped hundreds and thousands of people, if you also do something, when you do some volunteer work, you feel like I did something without any agenda. So the joy you get, and neuroscience proves that, the joy you get by helping others is joy unparalleled.
Absolutely.
Right? So you should do mentorship by seeking mentors, making your dreams come true, help others so that they can make their dreams come true. But you know what? Life is never a straight line. There will be times where you're off base and it's topsy-turvy, and what do? You may not have a mentor. How do you make sure you're still aligned and not getting into that rut of external validation and positivity? That's where the self-mentoring tool comes in to help you achieve all your goals.